Hello and welcome to Cakey with Liza. Today I'll be taking you through my 5-part series on how to make a drip cake. This third part is all about filling and stacking a cake. I hope you enjoy watching. If you do, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe.
So here we are about to fill and stack the cake. So previously we leveled the cake. I showed you how we did it with a serrated knife and a cake leveler. So we'll be going on to fill and stack the cake. So as you can see, we have a board here. You can use any board as long as it's bigger. I would recommend using something that's 2 inches bigger. Yep. So this is a 6-inch cake and this is a 10-inch board. So basically what we've started with, I have my buttercream, and I will also include a buttercream recipe. It's simple, quick and easy buttercream recipe that we use for this and what you need to fill and encase your cake. So as you can see, my piping bag that I spoke about earlier, I filled it up with the buttercream and I just cut a small hole, and I'm just going to apply some to the board, and I have some in the bowl here, and this is just because I'm going to show you 2 techniques and 2 methods that we use. So just put a small amount of buttercream on the board, and this acts as a sticking agent to ensure the cake stays firm. And as I mentioned before, we have a non-slip mat, and this helps the cake board to stay firm. So you can see, so I push it, it doesn't move. So that's the good thing, but that is good to have that if you can. So what I'm doing here, I'm just spreading it out. So when I stick the cake on it, it allows the cake to be stuck on the wider surface of the bottom area, and just keeps it in place. Right, so one thing you must know is that when you are applying the cake on the board, yes, we have these beautiful flat surfaces, but we advise that you take, as you can see, the parchment paper and you leave the flatter surface which has been grounded on the cake pan, and you put that flat on the board. Yeah, so we know that that's a tried and tested surface area that can take the weight. Okay, so once we've done that, then we use our buttercream in the bag, and as you can see, can you see my hand movement on the piping bag? So it's just a press down. So I'm going to start from the middle and I'm going to work my way out. There's no wrong way to do it, there's no right way to do it, but I'm just going to show you how I like to do it. And why I do it this way, I do it this way because when it's time to cut the cake, you see a beautiful line, leveled line, a beautiful straight layered line of buttercream, and that allows the cake to stand flat. So basically we want our cakes to be leveled, so that's why we level it, that's why it's straight, and this is why we're putting an even layer of buttercream. And this is what you'll see here. And any gaps, you just fill in the gaps. Any gaps, you just fill in the gaps. And that's it, there we have it. So what do I do next? Now that I've made this lovely swirl, I'm just going to smoothen it out so that when we cut into it later on, you can see that it is nice and you see the lovely lines. I think looking at the cake and ensuring it's beautiful is another important aspect of cake making. Not just making the cake, yes, we all know it's going to be yummy, but then looking at it and ensuring that the cake is looking the part is another good part of making the cake. So this is why we're doing this. Okay, so we move on to the next one. So I said I was going to show you how to do the other method. You can use a spoon, you can use a spatula, but personally you can just put some dollops just like that. You can just kind of like, normally if you use a spoon, you can maybe use 2 spoons or 3 spoons, but it doesn't matter. Can you see? So we're making sure we're lining the cake. So this is the stacking part, we have to make sure it's straight. So when we put the buttercream on top, you have to use your spatula and give it a back and forth movement. And why do I say this? I say this because you don't want to drag the cake off, crumbs off the cake. If you drag it, then you start getting dents, you start getting bumps, you start getting holes, and that affects the surface of the cake. So as you can see, back and forth motion movements, back and forth, back and forth. And also the texture of your buttercream matters as well. If it's too thick, then it's going to drag the cake off. So you have to just ensure that the buttercream you're using is the right consistency and it's helping you achieve the results that you need to achieve. So I'm just looking at it from the side and I'm just thinking, I like to drag it along like this, just so that I can understand the edges. And another thing, this is why it's important to ensure that your cake is chilled, because when it's chilled, you don't have the issue of worrying about the cake crumbs falling off. Or then later on, we're going to do a crumb coat, and that helps the crumbs to stay in place. So I'm just going to add a bit more. It's up to you if you like a lot of icing, whether you like a little amount, a lot, it's all up to you, completely up to you. Just take a bit more there. And I'm just going to scoop it around. So what I would advise is when you're making the cake, don't be scared to make a mistake. Don't be worried, oh my goodness, I've done this. There's always ways to rectify it. So that's what you should bear in mind when you're making cakes. Don't be worried about making mistakes, because there's always a way to rectify your cake making. Always a way to fix it. So this is the last one, as I mentioned before. So we're going to have the bottom base on top. Now you need to ensure that the cake is straight. So with the lip, as you can see, as I've pressed it down. So that's why I like using the piping bag from Buttercream, because as you can see, this is neater. This lower place that I've done is neater than this part. So that just keeps it contained. That just keeps everything in place. So with the other technique or method that I use, as you can see, it's all spilling around, but it's okay. Like I said, don't worry, you can't really get it wrong. So all we just have to do is so this will be part of the crumb coating. So all we have to do is just spread it around the edges. And if you notice, when I'm making my movements with my spatula, my elbow is in the air. And that just helps me to maneuver and get the right angles I need to ensure that it's been spread out in the right way. So as you can see, it's quite crummy, which is okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop it in the fridge so that it can firm up a bit. So that's why I use the example of one that's frozen and one that's ready-made, so you can see and understand why we do what we do. So if you notice, this isn't crummy that much, but the ones that were just made and used is what's crummy. So that's why it's important to put it in the fridge and let it cool up or chill up for a while, and that way it allows everything to crumb less. Okay, so that's that. So my cake is going in the fridge.